Imagine a 13-year-old kid typing a prompt into ChatGPT, and moments later, he's arrested by authorities using predictive surveillance software. We aren't just approaching Philip K. Dick's Minority Report, we're already living inside of it. The amount of information that governments and private corporations have on people could theoretically predict the crimes they will commit before they actually commit them. And that's a scary world that we're unfortunately entering at the moment. I'm Alex Siletsky, and welcome to a special edition of the TrickCast. Today, Amir and I and some of our guests are connecting the dots between the most exciting, paradigm-shifting AI conversations we've ever had. We're pulling back the curtain on the new hybrid reality that we're living in. We're talking about Palantir building the all-seeing eye of the modern surveillance state, and Elon Musk's plan to literally hack human hormones with Neuralink. We look at defense provocateurs like Luckey, who's ripping weapons straight out of Halo and putting them onto the battlefield. But it gets weirder. We're breaking down Apple's quiet acquisition of AI that reads your facial micro-expressions. Anthropic triggering the SaaS-Pocalypse that could wipe out the software engineering profession as we know it, and why the next generation of data centers are being fired into Earth's orbit. The line between science fiction and global power has completely vanished. The people controlling the 7 layers of AI value chain aren't just building software anymore, they're engineering the future of the human experience. Strap in, this is the ultimate AI masterclass.
What if your boss is a robot? And that what if your boss is a robot, you can imagine, of course, 2014, like everyone was like, really? Okay, let's play along. And I would love to see the faces of the team now. And in reality, I think our boss now is a robot, regardless whether it's physical or not. We all
Yes.
and try to ask what is there. It is very interesting. And I think the team mix will change completely.
Just to give audience a bit of a background, so a 13-year-old boy in Florida was arrested when he asked ChatGPT on a school-issued laptop how to kill a friend. Now, this request was automatically flagged by the school's monitoring software. It's called Gaggle, and it basically monitors students' online activity for potential threats. So the boy obviously claimed that he was just joking. Again, 13-year-old, probably the two of us weren't the most intelligent 13-year-olds either, but he was initially charged with making a threat to kill or harm somebody. So there's a lot of debate nowadays between safety and privacy in schools, digital surveillance tools. Is it an overreach? Can we criminalize minors for doing something like this? So yeah, it's become a bit of a hot issue. And Amir, why don't you take it from there?
When I heard this story, I had few concerns or thoughts in my head. The first one, we've been talking about predictive and preventive use cases for AI for some time. And it's lovely when you think about it, when you were going to predict a crisis or predict a weather crisis, predict a storm, like predict even a failure in electricity. But when you actually predict a crime and then you arrest people on intent, that's where I actually feel that where's the line that we need to draw here? Yeah, they are actually really controlling our lives. But Elon Musk is also coming with the fact that let's play for the good. Let's actually use AI to serve purpose. Let's work on use cases that actually helping longevity. But here's the catch. Most of them are believing that we need to live longer. We have a threat on the human life. And Elon Musk went for the Neuralink that should predict from your hormones that you might actually do a bad act and let the Neuralink fix your hormones. Ethical, unethical. Let's talk about it. And David Thiel went to Palantir, which when we talk about Gaggle, it's being done on the school level, but Palantir is mass. This is where you really have your private chats, your phones, your tabs, everything can be encrypted with Palantir and is being done literally by most of the governments.
Can we double click here for a second to give people context about Palantir? So Palantir is a US-based company that's very heavily involved in AI development, and one of their main specialties is basically processing massive amounts of data. They have contracts with all kinds of departments of the US government and some international governments that basically they can monitor phone calls, messages, any other kind of transmission signals. And one thing I want to throw you an extra bone here, Amir, because last night I was watching a short video with Alex Karp, who is the CEO of Palantir, that I pulled up here on the screen. And his perspective, and that was, I think, for the past couple of years, has been saying that AI is obviously the next superpower. And the country that controls AI is essentially has an all-access control to the rest of the planet in a sense. And his preference was, and he said that, I prefer a Western country having it in their hand. And if US is to be that Western country, I'd very much want Palantir to be in control of it, right? So that's kind of scary that Palantir might have AI that's going to be dominating not just United States, but potentially the world stage with its capabilities. So that's, I guess, the Joker in this scenario. So would you say Elon is the Batman in that case, or what's your view on that?
It's just very interesting because when I think about Elon Musk, I really like his vision, the non-terrestrial, and also like going into the root. And he went far to the root, to the biological root. I need to play on the hormones, but I don't think it's ethical because it's a technology that can be used to manipulate people's will from inside your head, literally. And I actually, in this case, I prefer the devil you know. And the devil I know in this is like Peter Thiel. And if you know that this is where the control is, I agree with his statement, by the way. AI is the new superpower. Forget about tanks and air fighters and anything. It's done. It's actually the robots and AI. That's the new superpower. And if there's significance for our generation, it's the evolution of technology to mix the human with the machine. Point blank, done. This is there. Live with it. We have to deal with it and work with it. And the point that we have to deal with it, the devil I know is Palantir, and the ways and the thinking that who leads on technology leads for the future, and understanding that Palantir exists and it's outside my body, I would probably be on the side of Peter Thiel.
If I can push back a little bit, I think intent matters a lot. And I haven't seen that specific clip. Maybe they're referring to with Elon saying something by hormonal control. What I believe is that it's obviously possible when you have something like this implanted, but I really doubt that his intention would be that, hey, let's change your hormones to prevent you from doing crime. That's maybe taking a bit of a leap that, like if you look, for example, at his track record of open sourcing a lot of his patents and even open sourcing part of the X code as former Twitter. As they updated, they actually release and open source parts of the previous code, from my understanding. So, if you take that kind of open source, let's say more the blockchain direction, I think that's also something we can solve with technology in the long term, that if somebody's using implants to manipulate you in a way that you wouldn't know. Like, I'm sure we can come up with those ethical measures in place then. But just because it's possible, what if somebody's about to commit suicide and we get a notification their serotonin and dopamine levels are extremely low, and we can not pump those chemicals in their brain, but have some kind of alerting system to them, to their family, that, hey, this person is actually chemically might do something that's going to take control of that. So is that something we can worry about later? Because I'm not sure that the intent is there to control people through an implant.
Elon was clear about his intent, and maybe you're right into putting some context on this. You remember last time or a few episodes ago, we talked about everything as a profit center, and that's the school of Larry Ellison and Elon Musk. So Elon is building the blocks for the non-terrestrial living. And when humans would move into the different gravity and physical environment, our hormonals will be impacted. And that's where Neuralink fit into the story of Elon Musk. But we are on the month of Nobel Prizes, and also the nuclear weapons or the nuclear reactions was not meant to kill a lot of people, and now it is killing. So I guess we need to be powerful at the end of the day. And I think my sincere advice here is, world is changing a lot. Technology is existing and is evolving faster than it was. And what we're doing now, we don't know the evolution about it later. And my philosophy here will be, don't release a virus without having the antivirus. And if we are evolving in a technology that is on hormonal controls or evolving a technology into severe surveillance, hand in hand, you must have another technology to supervise this, quality assurance, and another a policy and strict regulations with another technology to control the controller, if I can think about it this way. And I guess controlling the controller takes us to the EU Act.
Yeah, and maybe to change gears onto a story that I think is going to be a special treat. So we got this guy, Palmer Luckey, that looks very eccentric, and he is a very eccentric gentleman. Now, before we get into this, because we didn't discuss kind of what you know about him, what I know about him, and you kind of suggested, hey, let's talk about this guy in this week's episode. And I had just listened to a podcast with him that maybe you were listening to as well, potentially. And afterwards, I love what this guy had to say so much that last week alone, I've consumed maybe 15 hours of podcasts that this guy talks on them. So I found it absolutely fascinating that I wanted to see what other bits of mindset or just kind of outlook on things I can get from this guy that's practical. Maybe to give the audience a bit of a backstory. So everybody knows Oculus, like the popular VR headset Oculus Rift. So this is actually the guy who was responsible for creating it and ended up selling it to Facebook for a couple $1 billion. Became super rich and eventually got fired from Facebook as well. Then he decided to go into defense space and founded this company called Unreal Industries, the shortcut for which stands for AI. And we can get into this shortly as well. But funny enough, this guy, his background was that as a kid, he'd even built like various weapons that he didn't know. He'd build various coils with electricity, electromagnetic energy, and stuff that was super dangerous. But a lot of his inspiration came from science fiction books, and the stuff that he's actually inventing with Oculus and the stuff that he's inventing in the space and defense sector is stuff that's not actually new, but it's things that have been written for the past 50, 100 years. So it's kind of cool that we're at this point. I think he had a quote recently as well that we're too late to explore the seas and too early to explore the stars. So instead he founded all these companies that he's in. Maybe we can pause there for a second, Amir, and catch up here. And what do you like about Palmer? What do you think about him? And we can get maybe to some more specific things about his companies and technologies.
So it always inspires me, regardless. With a lot of drama around him, actually. Like there is a lot of what the hell is this kid coming into the Pentagon with a Hawaii shirt? Least of my worries, actually. I think I always tell my teams is that even if you come to the office with a bikini, I don't care as long as you do the job. But I still think it's surreal to see him entering the Pentagon with a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and getting to do that. But what I love about Balmer, and I think it's an inspiration to whoever is listening to us from all the generations, actually. His playbook is, I will make the science fiction come true. So he watches movies as a kid, and then he wakes up and he say, okay, I will do what I've seen in the movie. And it's very interesting because I was discussing with one of my colleagues that when I very casually chat is that at this point of time, in reality, there's nothing stopping us from doing what we have seen in science fiction movies. Maybe time travel, and I will give it a couple of more years. But the rest he can really do. Like it's doable. And Balmer is a living, walking proof that you can really make your dream come true. And a couple of his slogans that I have seen, and it put energy inside me. First, don't tell them, show them. So he's the only defense entrepreneur that doesn't go to the US government and say, give me money to go and build this weapon for you. No, he goes, build it with his own money, and then he comes back and say, walking into the Pentagon with a small box of a new arm or a new weapon in his Hawaiian shirt and say, hey,
10 times
let
better
me
than
shoot
what you
you,
guys
let me
have.
show you how this works. It's like it's surreal. So, and then of course, like making the science fiction come true. I love what he's doing, and the reason he came to my attention this week is I was interested in looking into certain laser companies and laser acquisitions happening in the market lately, and he managed to acquire a company that is called Airs. And what's significant about Airs, it's a very interesting laser, which again, like talking about the kid trying to make a game true. So laser is a big game a changer into games. So he acquired a laser company that is able to send a lot of pulses with high density without being hot. So it's a cool laser technology, and laser is becoming one of the main components of the ecosystems we're doing nowadays. And I think it's a very cool acquisition fitting into his eagle eye helmet and moving into that direction. So that's what I like about him. He's really making his kid dream come true. I love it.
If I can jump in for a second, because a lot of our audience probably listening might have the notion that, okay, Amir and Alex are talking about defense companies, they're talking about bombing people, they're talking, you know what I mean? Like it's a serious topic, right? And a lot of people have that impression of it that any company that's in the defense space, they're automatically murderers and killers potentially. Maybe to give our audience a bit of a sneak peek what we're actually talking about. So it's something like this, okay, which is very different, let's say, from traditional equipment that military people would have to carry. They'd have to carry battery packs, they'd have to carry like laptops and computers and these heavy VR headsets almost that get tangled all the time. Whereas what they actually did is they implemented the battery, they implemented a lot of the defense, the armor in these technologies. And this is something that probably your son was playing and seeing like in Halo on Xbox, 10 years ago, potentially, Amir. So it's pretty cool because he's a very hardware tinkerer kind of guy. So he's building these different pieces that are very practical in terms of how fast you need to remove it. What are parts that can be replaced? How can we save space? How can we save weight? And to give maybe the audience a bit more of a preview, something like this, where if there's some kind of a critical mission happening, for example, instead of just relying on the person looking at it with their eyes and trying to figure out where's the enemy, where are the victims, where are the casualties, you almost have this 3D, almost game-like landscape of what's happening from every single angle. So yeah, Amir, any thoughts on their technology so far?
It's crazy. I love it.
So to give the audience some context, Claude is basically their product, which is kind of like ChatGPT, but they have quite amazing developments early on. A lot of people who use it for creative work, like whether it's to write or, you might have a brain dump of all your knowledge, Peter, like into your assistant as you're doing, and you're recording a bunch of like voice notes, and it imitates the way you speak, the way you write, the way you structure sentences quite well. Whereas a lot of times I go to ChatGPT and you get an answer, should I sell hairbrushes to bald men? Do you think that's a good business idea? And it's just going to suggest and encourage whatever. Yeah, it's a good idea, So I like Claude for that purpose. And one of the recent products they release is Co-work. And I'm paying the $200 per month subscription, to be honest. And it's basically replacing a lot of your work, working with your own files on your computer. So it's quite incredible, kind of the leap they took from what ChatGPT has to what they offer, as you said, on kind of a more commeral enterprise kind of scale.
I think this is a great segue actually to the news that has been out about their Claude Opus that they released as well now, and the OpenAI launch as well. So I think it's very interesting what's happening in this space as well.
So Amir, we talked a little bit about the timeline. Do you want to maybe take us through, I have it here in front of us so the audience can follow, but do you want to take us through maybe what's notable about those events?
I started paying close attention to Anthropic actually in 2024, in June, when they announced something called Artifacts. And it's actually kind of the skills set for Alexa, if people are using Alexa, and it's enabling you to really use the AI agent that you're using or the AI tool that you're using on a specific term, and gives you there to work on that only. So it's kind of starting training your mind on certain tasks, not leaving you into the wild west. Let's ask and use it as a search. And then in May 2025. There was a breakthrough, which you were mentioning, Alex, on I think the amount of customizations to the user tone. And sorry for my French, not kissing your ass whenever you ask a question like ChatGPT. So it started to change a little bit.
And one thing to add, Amir, is also the ability to almost release products end to end. You're not just working on the UX UI. Now they're at the stage that you can connect databases, you can release it on Git, you can connect your repository. So like for somebody like me who's not a technical person, hands-on developing, I'm basically a product manager, right? Whatever I can conjure in my mind, within a couple hours I can have it done on code.
And I think, I don't know what you think ideally, but Peter as well, ideally here, it was almost the first shot to kill the software industry. Because it was really like straight bullet there.
It's called the SaaS-Pocalypse. That's what the news says.
Yes, and it was really like straight to the point, and like, oops, like I don't need any software developers anymore.
Right.
I will put it between many brackets in reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an overreaction.
Yeah, but it's definitely a push to that direction. And I noticed as well that they have put together some pillars of their strategy. It was very clear they kept their privacy game, and that the adoption of the AI mod has to be on the device. Data will only be sent in secured clouds, and a lot of protection that actually signifies Apple. But then the next move, they changed the chief AI officer actually from John Grenandere to Amar Subramania. Very hard name for me. Can you pronounce it? Subramania. So, and then later, early this year, two interesting moves. Complete integration of Siri into Gemini with Google, and then series of acquisitions, but the most important for us here is Q.ai, which is facial micro movement AI, and kind of the crown jewel of their movement, right? It's a very interesting company. We can have a full episode to talk about it, and this is one of the founders that managed to do 2 exits to Apple. So definitely there is a lot to see about him later. But QI came after 4 acquisitions. So they acquired Darwin AI, and then they acquired Data Calab, and then they acquired Prompt AI, and then boom was QAI. And I guess with QAI, Apple will be the only player that can have emotional intelligence integrated into their AI machine, reading your facial micro movements and reactions, and then putting it into a move. The last one was actually the integration with Anthropic as well to change the back end, which they call X-Vibe, to make the developers use Anthropic agents for coding, completely revamped the structure. And here I skipped the bus of the hardware as well with the M5. So back to you, Yahya, here. When you hear this timeline from Tim Cook, from what the fuck is happening, Siri is like fucked up, there's no AI, up to the point where we are saying Apple will be literally in the next months introducing emotional intelligence integrated into their AI machinery with the mix of Gemini. And that's on the range from March 24. We're talking what? February 26. Almost less than in. So, wow, right?
I think it goes back to whatever Apple is always doing. Apple they never care about coming late or delivering late, but they always make sure that they are delivering the proper service or the proper need, okay, with the proper and the highest quality to the customer. And I think this is the main differentiator. We always see across the time, yani, I have been using Apple since the first iPhone. I think it was the first iPhone I got was iPhone 3S or something like this. And since then, I have been fascinated by Apple devices. The thing is that I'm not fascinated by the device that they are offering. I'm fascinated about the ecosystem behind the device, the customer support, how they are offering how they are integrating everything to support the customer and make their product the best product to the customer. So I think this goes again to whatever Apple is always doing. So when they started the ChatGPT integration with Siri, I think this was not the best move at that point of time, but they did it so that they can have an AI in their products at that point. Everybody's offering AI, everybody's having AI in their mobiles, and even how they are using AI to edit photos, for example. It was not the best thing at that point of time. The good thing about Apple is that they know how to adapt and how to early enough understand that this is not going to be working. I need to do a change in strategy or a change in how am I doing things, and this is the agility that Apple's always handles. So I think integrating the Gemini with Siri, and even with the iPhone software, this is gonna enhance a lot how they're editing their photos, and what quality are they going to be doing this. And again, as you said, providing intelligence, real, as you said, human intelligence, and emotional intelligence to the Apple. I think this is gonna be the leap that is going to have a great impact on how Apple actually always leads, even if they come late, but they lead with their quality and innovative service to the customer.
We basically got potential orbital data centers where instead of having massive data centers and these factories on the ground, they're thinking of moving them into space. So maybe you could give us a bit of a sneak peek, Amir, what's happening here? Who are the big players? How is that going to impact kind of the current state of business?
Like while we are in science fiction and making science fiction happen, so NVIDIA decided to make the brain of the Earth in the space in reality. So it's Star Cloud, and it's a cloud. So the idea is why bother trying to build solar panels on Earth and try to make green data centers and try to make sure that we're not actually destroying our planet while we're doing it. Let's build a data center outside. And this is going to be the first data center in the space. Okay, first is not the right word because most of the space stations have a small equipment room that help them live. But creating a set of satellites, including these data centers inside, having the processing happening, getting as close as you can to the sun in reality, and get your solar panels charged. And the funny part is laser again, and taking all of this information with laser as the speed of light, like you feel you're really into a Star Wars movie, and the information with the speed of light is going into Starlink constellation, and Starlink is taking this data and bringing it to the Earth, and all of that literally on the speed of light. So cool, huh?
Yeah,
like
very
science
cool.
fiction is coming true. It's very interesting as well how the dynamics between the US and EU on this. So US is actually asking US companies so they can take whatever they need from them, but when EU is trying to enforce the same, they are threatening EU that if you apply the EU Act on us, we'll apply trade sanctions on you again. So yeah, I think we're gonna seeing a very strong evolving story here. You mentioned something about the layers of AI and where you find yourself on the value chain, and I think this is a very interesting part to also like maybe ignite the imagination of our audience about it.
Yeah, I think when we talk about it, it's like 7 layers that you have. So first layer is the raw materials that you can also fight about or is your enabler. Then you have your equipment. You have in the next layer maybe chip design, so you are more refined. You have chip fabrication, which is also one of the main drivers that you have as well for progress. You have the cloud infrastructure, as what I was discussing before, and then you have the foundational models. So Anthropic and so on, that needs all this stack, let's say that to run even the raw materials, right? To enable those services. And then on top of that, we have the applications. So not only the ChatGPT, but other application there where you use AI in order to operate your business, whether it's medical devices or manufacturing services and so on. So that the application layer. That's how I see it.
Mm. And I assume you put the energy along the side, or you put the energy under the material, because
material. So it's yeah, exactly. That
Yeah.
will go into to that layer.
Yeah.
Of course, and no model is perfect, but you get the point.
Yeah, I get the idea. I think if I like the whole hierarchical explanation. And I would simply put the energy alongside for all of that, because it's.
But you can take it from another angle as well. So if you take margin, for instance, on raw materials, you have basically maybe 3-5% margin. On equipment, you have 45. On chip design, nowadays you have 75% margin. Fabrication, you have 65%. Cloud infrastructure is like 20. Then foundational models, this is very thin. So because of the economics of the business is very difficult, because most of the tokens that are consumed are paid by investors at this moment in time. So talk about $20 per month. It doesn't cover the electricity cost of what you are generating, and then less the capex that you have deployed in infrastructure. Right? We went from one shift from CPU to GPU, for instance. That was a big change for the infrastructure companies that are starting to get like dump pipes already. And then the application there, of course, they are the fastest growing that is monetizing, or that actually is monetizing on these layers.
Then in that model, I would put the energy with the raw material, because the energy.
I agree. We should make a 2.0 of the model actually.
Then I will really put the energy with raw material, because I think going into the energy, it's also thin margins. And it goes into 3-4% margin, and that would actually put it there. And then countries will have to place themselves, or corporates will place yourself on Peter's 7 layers model. So if you are laying on the energy or playing on the raw material, you're gonna be really like milked, if I can call it this way, with low margins. And probably you will pay back whatever margin you made 10 times to get access. Upper layer in reality. So and
we were talking about we were talking about cybersecurity. That is one I would put money on. Certain applications as well. I would not put money on models or these kind of companies for sure now, because of the situation that they have. Probably they will have some good times on paper. Better valuation and so on, but this is very risky business, because they are. I mean, if you take the parallel, for instance, with the telcos built the network. They have massive of capex that was deployed, towers, infrastructure that you have. Then came the application layer, which is the OTTs. The WhatsApp, the Netflixes and stream companies and so on that actually flew on the networks using all this capacity and cost capex that was already deployed, and they just surfed the wave, and they were the one that made the money, or at least from valuation. So, and the ARPU for because of regulation and market dynamics, the ARPU I think fell like 35%. The average revenue per user from telecommunications, it went down like 30-35% over the past decade.
I would take my right to have another episode with you on telco to techco, because this would be a very interesting one.